Good afternoon everyone and welcome to our face-to-face meeting of Chapter 195. For all those who do not know me, my name is Stan Boyatsis, President of Chapter 195. In September it will be 11 years since NAWCC granted Chapter 195 its charter. Today there are over 300 members and the chapter continues to grow. It is truly an international chapter. After the guest lecture, rather than have any business meeting, the other directors will be welcome up there, and if you have any questions at all, please ask. Now, as a special door prize, there is a carriage clock. It's out there. Hopefully everyone has got a ticket. Yes? Good. As President, I have the pleasure of introducing our guest lecturer, Doug Minty. Doug is a founding member of Chapter 195 and our hard-working secretary. He is a Master Watchmaker, having recently retired after 57 years in the industry. Sorry, Douglas. Doug is a Silver Fellow and a previous Director of NAWCC. He received an Order of Australia for his services to horology and his church. Doug freely gives up his time to mentor others and to impart his wealth of knowledge. No request for assistance is ever too much for Doug. Without any further ado, I'd like to introduce and welcome Doug.
Thank you, Stan, and everybody who's come this afternoon. It's a beautiful afternoon, and we're looking forward to trying to educate you. Now, miniatures, we have them on display in the exhibition room there, so please make yourself available afterwards, but we'll hang. Okay, we will start off at the moment. I'm just going to read something to you. If you've been associated with horology for a long time, Derek Roberts in England has passed away, and he left a lot of his things to one of his workers, Lee Exis, who was with us here last year, and Lee has taken over. So I'm going to read something that comes out of Chapter 7 of a book that Derek Roberts put together, because it'll give you a start as to what is a miniature and how things ranged. The French miniatures are some of the most fascinating carriage clocks ever made. The enormous diversity of their design and the meticulous attention given to their detail is quite amazing. It is easy to understand why some carriage clock collectors seek out only early pieces. It's interesting that the original ones, and I'll continue along with this, but anyway, so it's continuing on. The idea of having a chapter was pretty easy, but it was a problem when you tried to do the finance of it, and that's why we said we wouldn't charge for it. It's not easy, however, to know exactly when miniatures started to be produced in France, though it is probably sometime between 1865 and 1870. For this reason, they will not be seen in any of the earlier case styles, but virtually all the later styles, such as gorge, caniche, canelli, oval, bow-ended, anglice, bamboo, and rococo, were crafted in miniature versions. Remarkably, certain miniature designs can be found that were never used in the bigger versions, so they stand alone. The height of miniatures varies, and it is to some extent affected by the case style, but most cornice cased clocks are just under 3 inches, excluding the handle. There's also several intermediate styles and between the standard miniatures and the full-size clocks, such as those seen on one of the panels that we have. The small panel clock might be considered a large miniature. The vast majority of miniatures were simple 8-day timepieces, though on rare occasions one was produced with an alarm and even strike and repeat. In these instances, because of the lack of space, the bell was usually mounted in the base and bottom wine was sometimes spared. The bell was very usually mounted in the base and bottom wine. Very few grand sonnery miniatures are known to exist. The clock in the centre of this picture by Leroy is usually referred to 3/4. The numbers start Swiss sub-miniature at 2 inches. Then the minarets, 1, 2 and 3, they go between 3 and 3/4 and 4 1/4 inches. And then there's a petite series at Unite 4 and 5/8. So they're all in their little areas. And that goes right up to a giant miniature at 9 inches in size. Okay. Having given you that blurb for Upstart, we'll work off the screen and just go through them slowly. If you've got any questions, I'm happy to answer them at the end and give you some idea. So there we have 3 different ones from the silver cased one, and you'll notice as we go through, the handles are really interesting to have a look at the different ones. And then there's the far one on the far left, right there, I should say. Okay. Here's all the sizes that I just spoke to you about. Any of the Carriage clock books will give you this sort of information. One of the things that is very good is keep your eye open for the auction catalogues, because they're worth keeping, because they spend a lot of time and money in doing those sorts of things. Okay. All right, here's an interesting one with its key in the back. The platform runs from back to front, and it's a nice size, and the handle is quite different. The one on the right is the case has been finished around with metal corners and so forth. But again, are different, you won't see it. Okay. This is a catalogue page, and right down the bottom corner, very, very far right corner, and that's the picture in the clock. So they were sold by the jewellery stores and so forth, and you can see the candelabras and everything else, and the clock was just considered part of that. Okay. Okay, here's some different styles and finishes. Some of these are snake skin and crocodile skin's been treated. You can see that they have different handles, but the first 2 and the last one are almost identical, and you won't see any of these on the big clocks. They didn't, this is something that they just stuck to the small ones. Okay, again, there's a variety of them there. The bottom one in the case is very nice, and again, like whether it's bigger or smaller cases, clocks, if you've got the case with it, it's very good. The one in the stirrup there in the bottom, again, something different. More a decoration that went on a desk at work or in a house than having all of the features of some of the bigger ones. Okay. Okay, there's 3 dog-court miniatures and a full size and a miniature cantilever. 3 different styles and 3 different heights. And when they have an unusually high handle, remembering they got to fold that down and put it in a case, and so it's a hassle. So as we go through, you'll see that they don't follow the style so much other than in the dial. These carriage clocks were made by dozens of people. The factories got them finished from Bosch movements, but they would move on then to have a case made and a dial and a hands, and then the makers or the people who advertise and put their name on them, they require something different, and that's why you've got so many different things. Okay. We tried to get it to show you the front and the back so that you got the idea of, and this one has Moser and Sons, and you can see the hands, and again, different people had particular likeness to the hands and so forth. Okay. Yeah, here's a pretty one with the enamel around the dial, and you can see again on the back the different mechanisms, and on this particular one it runs front to centre, but I'll show you one in a few minutes that goes the other way. Okay. Now you can see this clock has stampings which you know, the Drocourt trademark is over-stamped and so forth, but that stamping can be done when the movement's assembled. So you've got the maker and then the seller, because that little clear area there between wheels, you can fit the punch down there and put your mark on them. So there's many that are like that. Okay. Yeah, here's a really pretty one. And again, another Drocourt. There's plenty of books to help you get the information you need when you're looking at something and you are not sure whether you know what you are talking to, and there it is on the case. Now the case is like clock keys. You know, at home you lose your key and you don't know where it is. Well, you often, your clock's taken out of the box put in the drawer, and they get separated. So it's really important to keep the two together. Okay. Yeah, here's 3 different ones in different styles. The first one has beautiful panels. Now, they weren't done by the clockmaker. They went off to people who made that sort of artwork. And a lot of it was done in fashion to what's around for the different styles. And then the second one in the middle, well, again, it has quite a... I'm interested that the miniatures have quite high handles, and even the one on the end. Now, the one on the end raises this issue: what is a carriage clock? What is a carriage clock? That one doesn't have a handle. It's a miniature decorative to go in a case. And last year we had a display at the National, and we had clocks that were this big, weighed heaps. So yes, okay. There's some more decorations, and you notice that very little is left undone in the dials and the side panels, and the hands are different and the handles are different, and yet they're all from the same maker. But you probably find that he was getting the basic Ebosch movements. And in fact, in the horological industry, that's what happens with watches. There are people who make the basic movements, but then pass them off to other people. And of course, there's very few people making watch movements today. Okay. We have a pretty little one like this, but you note it doesn't have a handle. So is it a carriage clock? But it's small and it's decorative, and it's, I think for its size, it earns a run. Again, these are all coming out of the same maker. And some of the enamel work is very beautiful, and that clock's got some nice enamel work on, so hope you get it in the drawer and win the clock. So, okay. Yeah, now here's again some more, the side panels, and then the very high one at the front, and the one in that Chinese style that went along. I'm not sure that they really sent them into China to be had, but the Chinese fashion was very on the in Europe in different places. Okay. Yeah, look at this one on the left here. Even the numerals are done in Asian language, and the decorations highlight what it is, and there's a story told in the pretty pattern in the middle of the dial. The next one, well, it's got quite a different handle as well, with the twist columns on the sides, both out of the same company. And then you got the third one that has a dragon type person on the top, and the panels are all done, but there actually isn't a handle. You pick up the dragon and see where he's been. Okay. Here, it's a very pretty style around the dial, and sometimes these are done out of brass over a coloured base. You can tell with the first clock here, the case was cast, but then it's been engraved, and engraved the pattern on them, and you can tell by the shape and how deep it is and so forth. The next one's a fairly standard one, and again the last one, the handles are very high, and that creates a problem if you try to fold them down in a case. Okay. Yes, here's a very interesting, this again in a silver case, beautifully embossed silver, and it's got the third slide there, or part of the slide, is to show you the slide of it. So it's decorated all the way around. The movement is in there. It's got the name stamped on it. But if you're having any trouble identifying, they usually put the arrows that gives you a good guide as to who made it and what made it. Okay. Yeah, there's the arrow at the top, and in the Carriage clock book, it gives you a good guide as to where it came from. It doesn't always fit, but it does most of the time. Okay. Right. The first one is well, they're all Margaines, but the first one is quite different with its columns. I'm not sure what they were made out of, and then the dial. And when you go up to the top, the handle is in a different shape altogether. And the next one across is interesting. The handle is actually the chain. The chain swings up to the top. And again, as you see, as we're going through these, you can see that they're different than the standard or bog standard carriage clocks, but they come from about 1870 upwards to 1930 and so forth, and yeah, they're different. They're small. They're very decorated, and of course the last one there has some really nice features on it that you don't see on anything else. In the display in the centre here, we've got one that's very similar to that last Margaine there, and really pretty, and it's a combination of casting and then impressing the silver and polishing them, and yeah, they almost overdo them to achieve a sort. Okay. Yeah. Now, this little one on the first one on the left, it's quite unusual, and again Margaine. And that's the sort of finished article, and then it goes out and you'll find it might have a jeweller's mark afterwards, or an overstamping, and you may find a name on the dial that is a local jeweller. It just depends. The one in the middle shows you the case, and a pretty classic shape with the handle, and the key in the front. The key is very important. It is double-ended, so you have one end to do the winding, and please wind them slowly and carefully. Don't rip into them, because they say, well, people say they've overwound the clock. Well, you got to get a spanner on to do that, but you can actually lock it just a click and fully wound, and the clock won't go, and you can't get it back out of that winding. So treat them carefully, because, and especially in the miniatures, it's not much above a watch movement. So, and it's split into two. You have the clock movement, and then you have the platform. And this is where you might have the skill to service the clock movement, but if you're in trouble with the platform, you've got to find somebody else, and that's can be quite a search. And especially if it was a cylinder and somebody's put a modern platform on it, or it's a cylinder that's broken, it's very close to impossible to get them fixed. Okay. Yeah, here's a Leroy in its case, and you can see that on the bottom it's actually stamped Leroy. Again, the box is as pretty, if not prettier, than the clock itself. And again, I repeat, you will not see these on the standard carriage clocks. Okay. Okay, here's this Chinese style, again with the bamboo. It's quite popular in a particular era, but then you find, you know, whether it's a Art Deco or what it is, these things were fashionable, and that meant that they did them in styles that you might not see today. I'm not sure what you'd call the style, so forth, in this modern times. But anyway, okay. Here's three again that are quite different. They're all from the same maker. These first two are pretty simple. The first one is simple. It's got a maker or jeweler's name on the bottom. The second one is time and alarm, and it may be even there's a little button in the middle there. It may even go further. The third one is a tortoise shell, and we have one in the exhibition with all the corners and the trimmings. Now, if I brought a tortoise shell here while I'm here and went to take it home, the Australian Customs would confiscate it and they would destroy it because it's an animal product and they're trying to stop people using it. But this tortoise has been dead 100 years. And I do work for one of the top museums in Australia, and they've even offered to buy them, to preserve them, but they don't. Okay. Here we've got a nice oval one, and you'll see it's got a fairly high knob there in the middle at the front, and it could have all sorts of things. There's no alarm dial in the front. There may be one on the back. It's we've seen them up to quarter repeater. With all the mechanisms under the dial to be able to do that. There's the button on the top, and when you think that maybe in a 3-inch clock, it's big, they can fit all of that mechanism. I implore you, if you're going to have a go at fixing it, remember the problems, and from the time you take it out of the case, you photograph it. And photograph it 2 or 3 times each process, so that by the time you get to the end, you've got a record of what the parts are and so forth. And one down the front here is right, okay. So tread carefully because it's watch work. It's watch work, and it's terrible, and you'll start crying when the guy says, "Oh, I don't know what it was like before you got a hold of it." So, yeah, gently. Okay, the next two are fairly safe. Now, this is a Leroy. Go to the next one, mate. Yep, and the next. Yeah, this one. Look at the decorations in that, beautiful. This first one's like a vase, isn't it? And I can bet you any money you like, if you could track back, you would find that the case was made by somebody, a glass factory. It had nothing to do with the clockmaker. They buy the movement and they would put it in the case. And it's got the, I'm not sure whether that's Korean or, yeah, not sure. Okay, the next one's another one that's pretty, but whatever's on the top becomes the handle. And I don't think you'd even put it in the case, so that would be a problem. And then the last one is beautiful. It's like one of the icons out of a church with the angel on top and the case and so on and so forth. So everything's been tried. Okay. Here's a pretty one. I think that's as lovely as you will get, with the decorations of the box, the handle on the top, the display around the dial surround, and yeah, as good as any really big French clock, as such. Okay. Yep. Yep. There's yeah, that's a little bit different. And look at the key. They've gone to the trouble to make the key decorative, and the long shaft. That one winds at the back, so by having the long each end of the key tells you that when the doors open, there's not a lot of room to be able to turn it. The dial again is beautiful, and it's got very decorative hands, and it's interesting. These two are Breguets. We have 3 Breguets in the exhibition, and if you don't know the story of Napoleon in the 1780s got Breguet to make a clock, but it's a round one, and he made his officers get a clock that could be used in battle, and that was pretty well the start of carriage clocks, and they're still very much in demand, the Breguet ones, but he didn't make it all. He didn't make it all. There'd be dozens of people making particular parts and then putting it together. And that was the start of what leads up, you know, they have factories that make different things for your wristwatch, and then they all go together. So, very pretty box, and probably only this high. And again, I'll give you a commercial. Come and see us in the exhibition area, and we can show you actual clock like this. Okay. Here's a pretty one. It's 1 clock. The case is highly decorated, and the panels on the sides are really beautiful. And if you have a look at some of the paintings up close, the angels' wings are so fine. They really are, and that means it's good quality. So don't break a panel, all right? Okay, next one. Here's a little one. Yeah, he's really cute. Fits in the case. You can see the key on the back of the case there, and the little latch on the doors. And again, we've got a couple of these on display, and they're really beautiful, but to get the balance or the platform to go in these, in a normal carriage, it runs back to front or front to back. But on some of these, they've got to run across the plate, and some of them are hung on the backboard, and some others, it's done under the bottom. They're looking for a place to be able to do it. Many of them, the barrel is under the bottom, the bell's under the bottom, they're bottom wines, and yes, okay. Oh, here's a pretty little one, Golay. It's quite decorative. Now, I think I'm pretty sure that the handle got chopped up in the photography. We'll go and find it later and stick it back on. Anyway, again, pity, the side panels, very Egyptian. But you won't see this on the big ones. Okay. Yeah, okay, there's the first one here is rather interesting. It's in a gunmetal type case, and the finish is to stop it rusting. It's got a fair bit of writing on the dial, which means that they're telling you who the maker is, but also where you could buy it. The next one again is a very narrow one, but with a tall handle. And if you have a look, the first one here has very thin minute hand, and then the spade hand. And the last one, the hands are very decorative and a bit chunky on the size of the dial. Okay. Oh yeah, here's three quite nice ones. But again, I don't think I've shown you two that look exactly the same. Again, the dial has probably a jewellery store like Tiffany's or something on the dial. It also, as you go round, it's got the hour markers, but it's also got the 5-minute markers on it. The next one is very close together, and by the look of the photo, it's not very big. And the last one, well, it's quite a agglomeration of colours and panels and unusual hands. And again, like I say, that you won't find them in a big one. Okay. These are three pretty ones on the enamel. Now, on the enamel, if it's chipped, it can't be repaired. But what you can do, there's people around. We've got somebody in Australia, and there's another one in England. I'm sure you probably. They take all of the blue enamel out of it very carefully, but they leave the engraving underneath them. And then when they re-enamel it over, they will get a close colour. They probably won't get the original, but you can't tell. You can't tell that it's been done and so forth. So the next one's quite a pretty one. Again, just almost the whim of the artist, and they do the mats, the front and so forth. And the last one, like the first one's quite a nice clear dial with the Roman numerals, but the last one is a bit chunky, but also the hands are so big, and it's got the Arabic numerals, and they all come out of the same finishing mark anyway. Okay. Here's a really interesting one. If you look up in the top of the dome, or the top 3/4, the dome has slits in it, and you can see the bell. The bell is hidden inside the dome, but if it was struck, the sound would come out. So it's a striking clock. You don't put a bell on something that doesn't strike. And the case is really a lot of hard work to make something like that. Oh boy, yeah, this is one of the better makers. Again, I think this looks better because the dial is big, it's very clear, the numerals are small, the hands are very fragile, and it's just a beautiful engraved case, and the side has a bit of a story on it, and it's at the whim of the person who wants to sell the clock as to what style he would like. Okay. That's the other, the other style in the other two panels. Okay. Yeah, here's one that's rather interesting. It's got an oval watch movement in it, and you can see the back clock of the watch is enamelled with the purple and so forth, and it probably repeats. And so you push the button down, and it strikes the hours, or it might strike the hours and half hours, or the hours and the quarters. The ones that are minute repeaters or 5-minute repeaters tend to be very, very big clocks, but also quite expensive. Okay. Okay, these are unknown makers, so they come out of the factory that makes the e-brochures, and somebody's cased them up and haven't put their name on it, and so you don't know who made them. You can look at the case styles, and it will be something that might be familiar. And I'm sure if you looked at the back plate and maybe the platform, you can find something that you can sort of hang your hat on, that you can sort of say, look, I think it's a, and so on and so forth. Okay. Yeah, here's some pretty little ones. The panel here, this is the front view, and then this is the side view, and that's all little ground rocks that are set into the enamel base, and they're very, very pretty, and just something so different. And then, of course, on the back there with the door open, it's showing you the mechanism. And if you were buying something like this, for heaven's sake, even if they don't let you do it, make sure that the person you're buying it off winds it up part way, and that it goes and it does everything, because you can often get your fingers burnt if you don't do that. Okay. See, there's closer pictures of it. It's just flowers, but it's really lovely, and it's something you wouldn't expect to see. This Petra Dura, the side panels, and it's an unknown maker. Might have been a very small shop that was supplying these sorts of things and did the panels. Okay. It's just to go up closer. But look at the lines going from the main stem here outside. They are so thin. Okay. Anyway. Oh, here's another pretty one. Yeah, I like this one. Do you notice that some of the better quality ones seem to have survived with their case, where others don't have a case on them? It says that the case is by Gorham and Uncertain Maker. And if I got anything like that in, I write the definite things I can count on down one side, and the uncertain ones down the other side, and see how it balances out. And even if it doesn't, you've at least written all of those sorts of things on. Okay. Oh yes, this is a beautiful one. Unbelievable. With the dolphins on the top, and it's got interesting side handles, and it's embossed. And if you had a look at the back of it, you would see it. You couldn't believe that well, it's a bit like Lee Davis. The pattern is done in the reverse in the impression. Okay. Well, there's a pretty little one. It's time and alarm. The green is somewhat interesting. You normally think of the clocks being gold coloured, and the box suits it. And by the look of the box, I would say the handle can, while it does fold over, but it can also, the marks you can see in the top of the box say that maybe the handle just sits back in. Okay. Oh yes, we've got one not dissimilar to that in here. It's sort of, it's almost, the style in the case and the dial and the side panels is very decorative and geometrical, but yeah, quite a nice piece. Okay. Oh, here's a couple of little ones. Now, I don't know whether you've been noticing that they come with two style dials, either Roman numerals or Arabic. This one is Arabic, but it's also got the 5-minute markers around there. And look at the decorations of the side panels and so forth. And one thing is, see, if you've noticed that they're unknown makers, and often little people just brought the e-Bosch movement and did their work at home, and what they turned off you won't see in longer runs. Okay. Yep. Okay. Okay. Now, if you get a clock that you want to do up, for heaven's sake, don't hit it with the buff straight away and try and clean it. You always go very slowly, and you always have to have in your mind that if you can't improve the case, don't touch it. You can wipe off the dirt, but don't touch it. Okay. Oh, there's another load that are quite different. There's yeah. There's this one again, different. You notice that they're all the unknown makers. So when you're going to spend big dollars on buying something like this, it's very hard to identify them. Okay, let's try the next one. I think we've had that one, haven't we? No, the crowd. The one in the middle I like, with the enamel and so on and so forth. And don't do a lot of cleaning on that. Be gentle, because if you get in under it, you can destroy it. Okay, let's have another go. We must be very close. Oh yes. Look at the decorations on the one on the left with the enamel panels and the flowers and so forth, and the one on the right has a some sort of white glass tube going up inside, so that you can't see the movement, but you get the reflection and so forth. Okay. We hit the bars. Oh, okay. This is sub miniatures, which are down to a bit 2 inches sort of high, and really nice clocks, and the boxes and everything's been shrunk down, and you look at the hands on that thing, absolutely beautiful. It's a Lapine, it's a sub-miniature. Okay. All right, that's a range of the showing the different styles and the back plates. And again, it's only 77 millimeters high. Okay. Oh yeah, this is a really pretty one, and if you put an eyeglass or a magnifying glass on it and go over it, you'll be staggered at how the artist has done the panels and the decorations. And that wasn't certainly made by a clockmaker, it would have been farmed out. Okay. That's it? Okay. Well, we've only shown you just a few of the miniatures and sub-miniatures, so keep your eye open, and if you want to collect those, they're smaller, They're almost pocket watch work. And so join our chapter. It doesn't cost you any money, and we will give you all the help we can to Stan produces the newsletter, and yeah, come along, have some fun, see what you like.
We've got time for some questions.
Yeah, yes.
Where do you find the maker? Is it on the back of the...
Okay, all right, well there's a couple of things. The arrows that sets the hands gives you if there's nothing else on the back, they give you a good view. And there's a book we have in there that I can show you the arrows, not all of them, but they're done. And as I said, you write out the good things that you can identify, and it may look like this and it may look like that, and then the other things. And sometimes you just say it looks like it comes out of that particular...
Are you a member of Chapter 190?
I signed up.
Right.
I think I
In
am,
the
but I
last
signed up to make sure.
newsletter, there was a great article by Ken going through how to identify your makers, what to look for.
Yeah.
So I'll send you a back copy of the other one, so you can answer all your questions.
Okay, anyone else? Yes.
Was there a time period when the enamel was made, that there were lots of clocks made with the enamel?
Look, some of those certain decorative things ran in channels for 10, 15 years, and then they drop off and something else goes. You can identify that when it happened, but it doesn't always run. You know, you can get it in the mid-1800s and then the mid-1900s, the enamel itself. So
It's also based on costs. With the styles, you have the plain cases, you've got the enamel, and obviously it's a cost thing, and also the makers.
So if the economy is good, they're going to make more enamel?
You put yourself in a box.
yeah, well, if the economy's good, you buy an electric car, they tell you, but it won't be around next year. So I'm not so sure on that.